few words of wisdom. Thank you, ma'am. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nasma. And first of all, I'm very, very thankful to the organizers, the Integral University, and particularly Dr. Naseem. Because of him, I am here to share my views on the topic which is allotted to me, disability and human rights. So that is particularly health and health related issues, which are what are the policies and protections about them. So, first of all, I would say that all the human rights, all the fundamental rights, and specific statutory rights, those are all available to the persons with disability. The basic reason is that they are the human being, they are the persons, they are the citizens. So, whatever rights are available to a citizen, to a person, those rights are also available to the persons with disability. And there are UN conventions, United Nations conventions, which are dealing with these specific matters. And they are also having the provisions for health besides the specific convention, that is Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability 2006. The Rights of the Persons with Disability Act 2016 in India and other countries also, they have these statutory provisions and laws to protect the rights of the persons with disability. So we see that international level or at national level, at globally, there are statutory provisions, there are human rights, there are constitutional provisions which speaks about the rights of the persons with disability. So in this background, it becomes very important to know, first of all, what is disability. And the first important convention that comes to the mind is the Convention on the Rights of the Person with Disability, known as CRPD also. And this convention was adopted on 13 December 2006 by the General Assembly in the United Nations, and it has entered into force on 3rd May 2008. So India has also ratified this convention on first day of the October 2007. This convention has been integral to the to recognize the human rights of the persons with disability, but this convention does not define disability. Now, this is very important point which I am announcing here, that the convention has not defined disability. So, defining disability is a difficult task because CRPD only provides a broad description, which is not only wide but inclusive also. I'm not saying that defining disability is lacking that convention some points, but it has described the disability as to what shall be included in that disability, and that's why this is very wide description as well as it is inclusive too. The CRPD in its Article 1 provides that the persons with disability includes, because as I told you, this is the inclusive definition. So it starts with the inclusiveness and it says that it includes, the persons with disability includes those who have long-term physical, mental, intellectual or sensory impairments. That is to say that the persons who are having some physical impairment, some mental impairment, some intellectual impairment, or some sensory impairment, those are the persons included in this description of the persons with disability, and which in interaction with various barriers that may hinder their full and effective participation in the society on an equal basis with the others person. With the others here, I mean to say the persons who are not disabled. So the very first article of the CRPD that provides the description of the persons with disability, that says that there is some type of subtype of the impairment which is a long-term impairment, whether it is physical, it is mental, intellectual or sensory, and at the same time that these persons, when they come in interaction with the others, that their impairment works as a barrier or as a hindrance in their effective participation in the society. with that of the equality or in equal basis with the others person. In the similar terms, or rather I should say same terms, the Rights of the Persons with Disability Act of 2016 of India under section 2 subsection S also provides for a person with disability. And here again you see the same definition or the same description as has been given in CRPD is also given in section 2S of the Indian Act of 2016, which also means the same thing, that is the person with the long-term physical, mental or intellectual or sensory impairments. And when it comes in interaction with the others, then there are barriers, there are hindrances, so that they cannot participate effectively in the society or in societal works equally as the others are doing. So neither the United Nations Convention on Rights of the Person for Disability, nor we can say the Rights of the Person with Disability Act in India, they have defined disability, but they describes only persons with disability in the inclusive terms. But you see that over the times, the role of the social and physical barriers in the disability that has been defined and identified by the disabled persons themselves. And it is also being, we can say, identified by the researchers. They are from the social science fields, they are from the health sciences field, so as to what shall be included in the disability. The description of disability in this convention of the United Nations that focuses towards the social and environmental barriers, and that hinders the individual's participation in the society rather than the individual's impairments, bodily impairments at a higher goal. And this approach of the disability, which we find in CRPD, that is called the social model of disability. Because there are different types of the models, and we see that there is a medical model also, there is social model also. So we see that there has been a shift from the medical model to a social model in which people are viewed as being described by the society rather than by their bodies. What impairments are hindering, or what impairments are the barrier which they are facing in the use of the things which are available in the society as a medical condition, that is not the definition, but it is based on the social model in the CRPD. So the social model recognizes that the exclusion of the person with disability from society, that is the result of a barrier or the hindrance to the individual's ability to participate fully. This model doesn't focus on the medical impairment, that this is the result of the individual's inherent inability to participate. For example, if I say that a person cannot access a health clinic because of his or her mobility impairment, because there may be certain locomotive disability and the person cannot walk, but you see that it is not his or her inability to walk which is the issue, but rather the clinic lacks the accessibility. This is the point. So you see that the medical model is that the person cannot access the health clinic because of his or her impairment, but because he or she is not accessing, because there is a lack of accessibility on the part of the clinic. So this is called the social model, and earlier one is known as the medical model. So this medical model and social model are often presented dichotomy, we can say a contradiction to the person with disability, and they can often experience the problems which are arising from their health condition. And it is also very, very crucial that United Nations Convention of the Rights of the Person with Disability that establishes that disability is not necessarily a medical condition, and it emphasizes the role of the environment, the role of the attitudes or some attitudinal barriers also, rather than the impairment if it exists with the person concerned. So these impairments in hindering the full and effective participation in society or on the equal basis with others, that is not considered. While persons with disability may at time needs to access the health services for medical conditions or other which are related to their disabilities. So I think that it would be better that disability should be viewed neither as purely medical nor as purely social. But you see, nevertheless, this CRPD is important for prescribing the rights of the persons with disabilities, and at the same time, it is also important for the changing perceptions of disability. That the perception of the society, what they thought about the persons with disability, that perception has been changed by this CRPD by giving or by conferring those rights or by making them equal with the others. That perception is going to be changed by this UN CRPD. So for that purpose, this importance of the CRPD, United Nations Convention of the Right of Persons with Disability, that is very important because of it has changed the perception of a disability. So the persons with disability, they face abuse and violation of their different human rights, and the persons, they were facing the abuses that includes the institutionalization, isolation, or some type of the stigma, discrimination in the society also. And they were also lacking the access to the health facilities, to the educational institutions. They were not being allowed to enter into the employment, or the employment opportunities were also not given to them properly. So these were the points which we see that these were in existence, and this CRPD has changed this perception by providing to some extent the affirmative action for the persons with disability, so that they may enter all these things, they can have the access to the health facility, to the educational institutions, and the employment also. So we see that the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability, that is consisting of 50 articles, and that establishes various rights that allows the person to live various aspects of good life. And these rights have a wide range, we can say, like respect for the home and the family, the education right, the employment right, the health right. And at the same time, this is the not confined to the rights which are to be the personal rights, I should say, but the rights of the participation in the political life, the public life, participation in you see cultural life, and the recreation related facilities. The persons, they are also entitled by this CRPD, that is to leisure time, or the right to have the entertainment of the sports and enter in the sports also, sports facilities also, including that right to life, and freedom from torture or cruel, inhuman, degrading treatment or punishment. So all these rights are the part in these 50 articles of the CRPD. And above all, you see that all these rights cannot be exercised, cannot be enjoyed if there would not be a right to equality or right against discrimination. So we see that above all the rights, there is a right to equal protection and equal benefit of the laws. This is also the part of these 50 articles which are for the persons with disability. That is to say that the things which are required to live with a life with dignity, and that is the part of the CRPD for the persons with disability. The very purpose of the Convention on Rights of the Person with Disability, that is mentioned in Article 1, that is to ensure a full and equal environment, or the enjoyment of all the human rights and fundamental freedoms. And that is not confined to any one or other category, but the persons with disability as a whole, so as to promote and respect to their inherent dignity. So dignity is on the highest pedestal, equality is there, right to life is there, and besides these rights, education, family, employment, cultural life participation, political life participation, public life participation, recreation, sports facilities, all these rights are available to the persons with disability. Now, by going through the rights which are mentioned in the CRPD, one can say that CRPC, this has not created any new right or the entitlement, because these are the rights which are available to all the human beings. What is special about this convention? Because whatever rights I am talking about, these are the rights which are available to all the human being. Whether it's a UDHR, ICCPR, ICSCR, all these rights relating to family, education, employment, these are available to them. So what is special about this convention? And the answer is that this convention has expressed existing rights in a manner that suits and addresses the needs and situations of the persons with disabilities. However, before moving further, the term disability needs to be understood first. And what is disability, how one can perceive the disability, that is important because it is not defined in any of the convention or the act. So we must know what is disability particularly. And in various, I mean, say, authors, they have written about the disability, that this is something like an umbrella term. Disability is just like an umbrella term of impairments, of activity limitations and participation restrictions. So what is that impairment? So impairments are the problems in body function or the alteration in the body structure. For example, we can say this blindness, that is the impairment in the person concerned. Similarly, there are certain activity limitations. We want to do something, we want to be active in something, but because of the bodily problem, there are certain limitations that one cannot be actively or actively participating in that particular activity. So these activity limitations are difficulties in the executing of those activities which a common person or which a person without disability can participate. So these type of the activity limitations are like walking or eating. Because of the locomotive disability, a person cannot walk. So these are limiting the person to participate or to execute those activities which a person without disability has been participating. So disability includes the terms impairments like bodily, which are the problems or impairments in the bodily structure. It is like activity limitations, that is dependent upon the person's inability to move or walking or eating or something like that, which includes the locomotive disability. At the same time, participation restrictions are also the part of this disability. And this participation restrictions are the problems with the involvement of in any of the area of life. For example, facing discrimination in the employment, facing discrimination in the transportation. The person with having any of the disability cannot participate. There are certain restrictions. They are denied their access to participate in. So these are the participatory restrictions. Here we can say that this disability, which is an umbrella term that refers to the difficulties which are encountered by the persons in all these three areas of functioning, whether it is impairments, whether it is activity limitations, or whether it is activity limitations. Then the preamble of the CRPD acknowledges that disability is an evolving concept, and disability results from the interaction between the persons with impairments and attitudinal and environmental barriers. That is to say, that hinders their full and effective participation in the society on the equal basis with the others. So disability is not an attribute or a characteristic of a person. By addressing the barriers which hinders the persons with disability in their day-to-day lives, progress on the improving social participation can be made. Person's environment that has a big impact on the experience and the extent of the disability, that can be changed. And the inaccessible environment which creates the disability. So by creating barriers free to participate and make or to make the situation inclusive, that can be seen as not a disability. then we see that as disability is not a characteristic of the person, this is a situation where the person finds himself or herself to be disabled. So these situations can be changed. For example, if I'm saying the negative impact of the environment includes a blind person using a computer without screen reading software. So that is a situation, that is the condition where the blind person cannot use the computer. This is something which will come under the disability. But as disability is not an attribute or a characteristic of the person, this can be changed, because by providing the person with that of the screen through which he can read, the software through which the blind person can read, then the situation would be different. Similarly, the individual without a sign language or interpreter is not able to see as to what is written. But if this sign language is to be provided, if the interpreter is to be provided, the deaf person can also be having the information. And a wheelchair user, for example, in a building without any accessible bathroom or the elevators, then for that it would be a disability. But when we see that the accessibility is made available, if there are elevators that the person can use, a wheelchair person can use that building, or that may be made accessible to that person, then again this disability cannot be an attribute and characteristic of the person, that can be changed. Therefore, disability can be said to be complex, or it is dynamic, multidimensional, and contested. And that's why you see the preamble of the CRPD acknowledges that it is the evolving concept. It's not static, it's a dynamic concept. I'm reminded here one of the statement which was given by a very renowned astrophysicist, Professor Stephen W. Hawking. He was suffering from the motor neurons disease, and he was also leading a very happy family life, as he said. Then, in his words, disability need not be an obstacle to success. Because of a person having some impairments, because a person is coming under the description of the disability, that doesn't mean that he'll not achieve the success. Disability need not to be an obstacle in success. So disability does not mean same thing to everyone. There are different points, there are different things. A thing which is considered disability for one person may not be considered disability for the other person. And for that, we have to go back to see regarding health issues, the first ever report which has been produced by the World Health Organization and the World Bank Group. And these two have jointly produced this report in 2011. That was known as the first world report on the disability. And that report provides the evidence for innovative policies and programs that can improve the lives of the persons with disability, and also to facilitate the implementation of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Person with Disability, because as I told you, it entered in force in 2008, and this report is of 2011. So till that time, in various countries, they have not come out with their national legislation on for the persons with disability. In India, you see, we have an act. It was of 1995, but whatever was there in 2006 convention, that we could incorporate only in 2016, after 10 years. So this report is important because it was also to facilitate the implementation of this UN CRPD Convention of 2006. And as rightly told by by Dr. Nasma, that and there are 650 million persons who are disabled by one way or the other. So this is the report of 2011. At that time, they said that only 15% world's population, nearly 1 billion persons, they live the lives of the one or the other form of the disability. And they say that 2 to 4% persons, 110 to 190 million persons, they experience some type of the significant difficulties in their functioning, in their day-to-day functioning. And these difficulties in functioning which are not experienced by the persons who are not coming in the definition of the PWD. So as per the report, the persons with disability are more likely to be unemployed than non-disabled people. Now, this was the situation in 2011 report. This is the situation in 2021 also. We have the legislation providing for affirmative and positive discrimination. Again, you see that these persons, they are more likely to be unemployed because they are disabled. And across the world, if we see, then they have the poorer health outcomes, and they have lower education achievements, less economic participation, and they are having the higher rates of the poverty other than the persons who are not coming in this disability group. So this is because the persons with disability, they experience the barriers, they experiences the hindrances in accessing the services and access to health, education, employment, which are basic for the growth of any person. The transformation as the transport also, as these are the services which are required for any person, and the access to these services are not made available to the persons with disability. Also, the information is also the part. So these are the services which are not made available to the person with disability. So therefore, they are experiencing the barriers, and they are experiencing various obstacles and hindrances in making their choices, or in performing their duties, in performing their or exercising their rights. And we see that good health is the prerequisite for the participation in the wide range of the activities, which may include the education and employment also. But when the very access to the health is not available, then how the other things would be achieved by the persons with disability? And that's why I'm very thankful to the organizers that they have chosen the specific topic of health issues or health policies and programs of the persons with disability. So the issue on which I'll be discussing first of all is related to health issue, as to what is health. Now, so for health is concerned, we know that the constitution of the World Health Organization, Geneva, it was 1948 constitution that defined health as a state of physical, mental, and social well-being. And it's not merely the absence of any disease or infirmity. So if a person who is happy, is having the physical, mental, and social well-being, then he is a person who can be said to be healthy. And if a person who is having some absence of the disease or infirmity, only that person is to be said healthy? No, it's not like that. This is the definition which is given in the World Health Organization Constitution. Similarly, when we come to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Person with Disability, we find that Article 25 of this convention that enforces the rights to attain the highest standard of health care without any discrimination. So we see that a wide range of factors are there to determine the health status of the persons. And this may be the individual factor, this may be the living and working conditions of the persons with disability, or some general socioeconomic conditions, the cultural and environmental conditions, or the access to healthcare services, as to whether these conditions are allowing the person to enter into the, or to have the access to the healthcare services or not. This is what Article 25 speaks about of the UN CRPD. And similarly, you see the world report also shows that many persons with disabilities experience the worse socioeconomic outcomes than the persons without disability. They experience higher rates of the poverty, lower employment rates, and they have less education. They have unequal access to the healthcare services. They are not, we can say, able to meet the healthcare needs. So people with disabilities experience poor level of health also. So how the health is taken in the CRPT, that becomes important. As I told you that Article 25 speaks about the health and the health status of the persons with disability. It states about health in six sub clauses, by putting the obligation on the state parties. State parties, that is the states who have ratified, who are the signatories of this UNCRPD, and India is one of them, as I told you. So the state parties recognize that the persons with disability, they have the right to enjoyment of the highest attainable standards of health. without discrimination on the basis of disability. And for that, the state parties, they have to take all appropriate measures to ensure that the access to the persons with disability to the health services that are gender sensitive also, and that also includes the health related rehabilitation. So the obligation on the state parties is to ensure that the person with disability, they have the access to the healthcare services, and those healthcare services must be gender sensitive. At the same time, they must also provide for the health related rehabilitation. And therefore you see the provision which speaks about, they say that the state parties, they shall provide the persons with a disability with the same range of quality and standard. For what? For free and affordable health care, because as you see, the world report also speaks about, and we also know that the persons who are there with the disability, they are having very poor conditions, they are not economically as sound. So one of the obligation on the state parties are that the state has the obligation to provide the persons with disability with free and affordable health care and programs, as it is provided to the other persons, and that includes the area of the sexual and reproductive health also, because it has to be gender sensitive. So the sexual and reproductive health, that is also to be there, and the population based public health programs, those are to be provided by the state parties. Similarly, the state parties have also to provide for the health services which are needed for the persons with disability, specifically because their disability, and that includes the early identification and intervention, which is appropriate, or you see the services which are designed to minimize and prevent the further disabilities, which includes which I should say that the persons who are children, the persons who are the older persons, that is these persons with disability. So a state party has to see and to identify at the early stages the health services are being provided to them or not, so that their condition may not be aggravated. So the children and older persons, they are to be made the part of these type of the health services. Then to provide these health services to the persons with disability in the nearby places or as close to the area where they are living, including that of the rural areas. So the persons in their own community where they are living, these health services are to be provided closely to their area of residence, which are including the area that is the rural areas also. And it is also to provide the health professionals some care for the same quality of the persons with disability as that of the others. And this includes the free and informed consent by raising the awareness of the human rights, the dignity of the person concerned, or the autonomy, the privacy of the person concerned that needs for the person with disability. So whatever health services are being administered on the persons with disability, then those health professionals, those persons, those nurses and doctors who are to administer those treatment on these persons, they must be trained, they must be provided with the right that they should give them the information, and that information must be free, and the consent must be taken by the persons who are the persons with disability. So for that, they must be told that this is their human right, this is their right of dignity, and this is right of their privacy and autonomy on their own body, that they must be known as to what type of the treatment is going to be administered upon them, and at the same time they must give their consent also for that treatment. So for that, the health professionals, they must provide proper care to these persons. Then another provision which we find in Article 25 regarding the persons with disability in this UN CRPD is that it prohibits the discrimination. This is the obligation on the state party, that it should prohibit the discrimination against the persons with disability, that is in the provisions of the health insurance and the life insurance, that like normal persons, like the persons who are without disability, what are the provisions for the health insurance, similar provisions must be made available to the persons with disability, whether it's a health insurance, whether it's a life insurance. And this disability should not come in between. So this is to prohibit the discrimination. And where such insurance is permitted by the national law, which shall be provided in a very, very fair and reasonable manner. At the same time, the state parties must also prevent the discriminatory denial of the health care and health services of the food and clothes on the basis of disability. If these persons are not being provided with the food, clothes, etc., then it would come under the discrimination. So these are the things which have to be prohibited by the state parties. Then the right to health in 25 must be interpreted in the context of the core principles of the CRPD, as it is given in Article 3 of the UN CRPD, which is known as the general principles. Because when I'm talking about Article 25, then Article 25 is a specific article which speaks of the health rights. Now, if those health rights are to be seen in Article 25 only, then the other general principles would not be there. And it is important that when this Article 25 right to health is to be interpreted, it has to be interpreted with reference to other provisions of the this convention, particularly Article 3, which speaks of the some core principles, some general principles, and that includes, those principles include the non-discrimination of participation, autonomy, and freedom to make one's own choices. And at the same time, the social inclusion is the part of that general principle. The gender equality is the part of that general principle, or equality of opportunity. So when we see all these points of this principles, then if we will follow in interpreting Article 25, then again we can say that the state parties would have been would be very, very logical in providing these services, health services, to the persons with disability. Similarly, you see that the right to health must also be interpreted in the light of Article 4, subclause 2 of the convention, which requires the state to progressively realize economic and social rights. Okay, so progressive realization means that the state parties have a specific and continuing obligation to move expeditiously, to move effectively for the full realization of the right to health. And this obligation for the state to progressively realize the right to health requires them to make continuing efforts to implement these rights. So we see that the access to health as CRPD requires by the state parties, that is to take all appropriate measures to ensure the success to access and for the persons with disability in the health services, and that are gender sensitive. This is one point which we find in CRPD Article 25. Then it includes the cost, accessibility, the stigma and discrimination, or the lack of services and resources. So without equal access to health care, the people with disability are at serious risk of delayed diagnosis, or the secondary comorbidities, or the persistent abuse and isolation. So this access to health service is on the priority for this state parties to make provisions for all these type of the things. Then non-discrimination or equal access, I'm talking about these general principles or the core principles, the access to healthcare services and the non-discrimination. So again, this is the central principle of the CRPD, non-discrimination and equal access to healthcare. And it is critical for ensuring the equal access to the healthcare of persons with disability, because as you see, Article 2 of this CRPD defines discrimination on the basis of disability to mean any distinction, any exclusion or restriction. It's not like that there should be inequality like that. Discrimination includes any distinction, exclusion or restriction that is to be on the basis of disability, and which has the purpose or the effect to impair or to nullify the recognition or the enjoyment or the exercise of any of these rights of the persons with disability on the equal basis with that of the others in any of the fields. So, you see that discrimination may include the denial of reasonable accommodation to the person concerned. So, all the persons with disability, they have the same general health care needs as like the other persons, and therefore they require the access in the mainstream healthcare and services on the basis of on the equal basis like the others. As I told you, other means the persons without disability. Similarly, the physical, accessibility is also there. That is ensuring the equal access to healthcare to the persons with disability because of the physical barriers to access the healthcare, that both environmental or infrastructural barriers as well as the geographical barriers also. You see in the hill areas, there is no facility or there is no transportation particular transportation facilities are available in the hill area. So the locomotive persons who is suffering without that with that of the locomotive disability, then the access would be a little bit difficult for that person. So such as access to the rural health centers also, this has to be provided in the physical accessibility. So health facilities, goods and services must be within the safe physical reach of all the sections of the population, especially persons with disability. So this is what the physical disability requires for to be made available by the state parties. Then CRPD also focuses on the geographical access to the healthcare in Article 25 Clause C. That state parties are under the obligation to provide these health services as close as possible to the persons. As I told you, that it's not only to be confined in the urban areas, but to the rural areas also, to the areas which are not reachable, like hill areas. So this is the provision which is there, the accessibility on the basis of geographical grounds under 25C, and the provision for the healthcare facilities to the persons in rural areas, that ensures that every person is able to physically reach the healthcare facilities there. You see that in hill areas, if a person, if there is any accident or even if there is any fracture, leg fracture or something like that, then the mobility or the access to the healthcare services becomes very difficult even to the persons without disability. Then you can think about the persons with disability. And this physical access, this extends to the accessible medical equipments and services also. For example, if I say that women with mobility impairments, they are often unable to access the breast or the cervical cancer screening because the examination tables, they are not height adjustable, and the mammography equipments and the other equipments which are being used for detecting the breast cancer or the cervical cancers, these are there only to accommodate the women who are able to stand. So the women who are not able to stand up, they are having some mobility impairment. How they can access to these health services or the medical equipment? So these are the points which is dealt by Article 25C, that to provide the health services which are as close as possible to the persons in their own communities, including the rural areas. So these are the services which are to be ensured, health services are to be ensured by the state parties. So you see that in practice, again, we don't find any these type of the health services available to the persons with disability, which should be made available to those persons with the disability, not only as per the UNCRPD, but also as per the laws which are available in our country also. Then again, another point which is working as a hindrance in the health services, that is economic accessibility. You see, the affordability is the primary reason. If you can afford the something, and affordability comes only because of your economic or financial resources. So affordability is the primary reason by persons with disability. You see, across the gender and the age groups, they don't receive what is needed as the healthcare in the low income countries also, you see, in the world over. And as per Article 25, the state parties, they must have to provide the persons with disability the same range, the quality and the standard of free and affordable healthcare and programs, which is provided there for the persons with disability. So we see that the person with disability having lower rates of employment, and this makes it more and more difficult for them to afford the health services and health insurance. So those persons with disability who are provided with the health insurance, they may be denied the coverage due to their pre-existing conditions or discriminatory coverage of the policy. So here, the state parties must prohibit the discrimination against the person with disability to the provisions for health insurance, and that's why you see the provision has been made under Article 25 for the economic accessibility, which are related to the health insurance and the life insurance. Then information accessibility, this is also one of the most important part of the healthcare services use. The form or the content of the information that can serve as the barrier, you can see, in accessing the information for the persons with disability. For example, presenting informations in braille or in sign language are two different forms of the communication for the blind person or for the deaf persons. If there is a person who is blind, then if you will give something in braille, then he will be able to understand or to get information, what information is being supplied to them, those persons who are blind in braille. But if the information is not being provided in braille to those persons who are blind, then the information would not be complete information. Similarly, the sign language, etc., these are different forms of the communication. And information accessibility is one of very important for the persons with disability, which makes the information accessible to the individuals who are otherwise may experience barriers. Similarly, we say that using easy to read language or using pictures and cartoons, they are the different methods for changing the content to the information to make it more and more accessible. So in health context, access to information is very crucial for the patients, because you see that the persons who are patients, the persons who are needing some healthcare services, so the healthcare providers must also receive the and understand the relevant health information. The access to information in the health context extends to the accessible forms, informational brochures, communication to the healthcare providers, and also the consent of the person concerned as to what information is provided through the referral system, because the doctor has given certain reference and referral that you have prescribed certain medicines, that you have to take these medicines. So how that person would know that these are the medicines referred for the particular disease other than the disability, because this person with disability may come in contact with various type of the diseases. So these type of the referral system that has to be provided in a language which is known to the persons with disability. So information accessibility is very important for the persons with disability in the healthcare system. And you see that the facilities of the proper signage, etc., in the buildings where they are to enter, that also to ensure the accessibility. This is also the information accessibility. The roads, they are depth. There are holes on the roads. The buildings, there are certain staircases. The person may not be aware if there are not proper signage. So all these things are required as a part of the information accessibility. Then informed consent. You see that one of the UN rapporteur on the right to health, Anand Grover, once he defined the informed consent when he says that the informed consent is not a mere acceptance of a medical intervention, but a voluntary and sufficiently informed decision. You see that when there is a person who is admitted in the hospital and there are certain operations or surgeries to be administered, or a person is to be operated, then they give a form which is to be signed by the person, guardian, or some family members, that with certain conditions, that the consent is given to the doctor, that if anything wrong happened, then the doctors would not be, liable or responsible. And this signature of the person concerned or the family members who are there, this is known as the informed consent form, that they have given the consent. So this informed consent, which is say it's ethical and legal normative justification, that stems from its promotion of the patient's autonomy, its self-determination or bodily integrity and well-being also. So the general principle in the CRPD 3, that includes this individual autonomy and respecting the freedom of individuals to make decisions about their life, supports informed consent, etc. The state parties must require the health professionals to provide care and the protection of the same quality to the persons with disability as they give to the persons without disability, and on the basis of free and informed consent. So the informed consent must be made available, and the persons with disability must be given the full opportunity for that type of the information. Then Article 25, as I told you earlier, also provides for the sexual and reproductive care of the same range and the quality and the standards as that of the other persons. So the women with disability, they have also have their right to reproductive rights, and because of they are disabled, they are denied their rights, and sometimes you see they are subjected to the forced miscarriage or forced abortion and the forced sterilizations even to some extent. So they are particularly vulnerable to the forced sterilization, and this sterilization are performed in the name of the legitimate medical care or the consent of the others in their name. That's why you see Article 25 puts an obligation on the state parties that they must provide the persons with disability the same sexual and reproductive rights of the healthcare and programs as provided to the other persons. But you see that in India also there are cases of these type where the consent is not taken by the persons with disability, and sometimes the consent which has been taken by the persons, they are not being informed as to what type of the consent they are being given. Suchitra Srivastav is a case which I am reminding here. A mentally retarded girl in Chandigarh administration shelter house, where she was raped, and she has to give birth. That is one of the point which this Article 25 speaks about and puts an obligation on the state parties. Then relating to the health professionals, they are under obligation. They are to provide the good care to the persons with disability, and they have also required to be trained that what are the ethical standards and what are the public and private health care, what type of the facilities are to be given, what type of the health care is to be given, or what type of the health care is required by these health professionals to the persons with disability. So all these are the part of Article 25 of the CRPD, and we can see a range of international documents are also there besides the CRPD. That disability is a human right issue. That says that this disability is a human right issue. And once Mother Teresa also said about the human rights, that human rights are not a privilege conferred by the government. They are every human being's entitlement by virtue of the humanity. So you see that the CRPD, which speaks of the health right under Article 25 of the convention, there are other international instruments, a human rights instrument, which also recognizes right to health. For example, if I say the Bible of the human rights, that is UDHR, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, that under Article 25 also speaks about the health rights and the medical care and other social services. Then International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights under Article 12 provides for the health rights, and the International Convention on the Elimination of all forms of racial discrimination, that also speaks under Article 5 of the right to health. Then the Women Related Convention of 79, known as CEDA, Article 11 and 12 speaks of the health rights of the women. Convention on the Rights of the Child, that also speaks under Article 24 what are the rights of the children who are suffering with the disability, or who are suffering with any type of the health issues. Besides this, we see the World Program of Action, which is concerning with the disabled people of 1982. At the same time, 1993, this standard rules which have been made for the equalization of the opportunities of persons with disability. So various international instruments are there. There are various examples where we find that these international instruments provides for the right to health in a specific term. And further, you see the core component of right to health by CESCR, that is the General Comment 14, which speaks of the right to highest attainable standard of health under Article 12. That is also very important, which speaks about the components like availability, accessibility, then accessibility, I mean, having certain dimensions like non-discrimination, physical accessibility, informational accessibility, economical or affordability, as I told you, acceptability, and the quality. Quality of health services are very important, which should be required to be safe to the person concerned, should be effective, and it should be timely. The timely giving of the health services, that is also very important, because it reduces the further harm to the person concerned, and it should be equitable, it should be efficient also. So one thing which is common in all the international instruments of the United Nations is that they offer for the health issues not primary prevention of the health conditions. And you see that besides international level, we see that in India we have the and this Rights of the Person with Disability Act. Prior to that, we were having 1995 Act. So this Act of 2016 is very comprehensive, and it is consisting of 102 sections, 17 chapters. There is a schedule of list also, which are there put as the categories of the disability, which has been increased now in 21 categories. And there also section 25 of this RPWD Act provides for the healthcare services. And that healthcare services, you see, as I told you, is in the similar terms as the UNCRPD, and that is an obligation on the government, appropriate government or the local authorities, to take necessary measures for the persons with disability, to provide them with the free healthcare, especially in the rural areas, barrier-free access to the health service centers and the private hospitals to the government hospitals, and the priority of the treatment is to be given. And again, it has to take measures regarding the surveys, investigation, and research in the matters of the disability occurrences as to how it has occurred, and to prevent them, then to promote some methods for preventing the disabilities, and to see that the children who are at risk, at high risk, then how to identify those children, and then to provide the facilities for training the health professionals and the staff, the primary health centers. So there are various provisions in section 25 of the Indian Act of 2016, and that is in terms of the provisions of the UNCRPD to some extent, because here you see the Anganwadi workers, the village level workers, the primary health centers, PHS. So all these things, they are working towards the healthcare services of the persons, not only the persons without disability, but the provisions have been made for the persons with disability, whether it is a case relating to the prenatal or perinatal or other postnatal services, or it has to be case of the general hygiene, health and sanitation, or healthcare during natural disasters like COVID. You see, the persons with disability, they were on the very, very high risk. They are still on the high risk during this COVID period. And then how these essential medical facilities are made available, the emergency treatment is to be made available, the sexual and reproductive health care is to be made available to the persons with disability. So all these provisions will find in the Act of 2016. So we see that there are international instruments, there are national legislations, there are policies, programs. Still, there exist the barriers to the healthcare, and the people with disabilities, they encounter a range of the barriers when they attempt to access the healthcare services. So the barriers to use the health facilities, which includes the cost, the lack of services in the area of transportation. Still, you see that the transportation facilities are not as good as it should be, because these are the basic points for accessing into other services. Transportation is one. Then government can improve the health outcomes of the persons with disability by improving the access to the quality or affordable services, healthcare services, or by making the best use of the available resources. Usually you see several factors which interact to the inhibit or which restrict the access to healthcare. So reform in all the interacting components which are related to the healthcare systems, that are very much required. Whether it's the implementation of the policy or legislation, or addressing the barriers regarding financial resources or the affordability, or addressing the barriers which are related to the service delivery system or human resources. So all these things are important, which can be thought to erase out the discrimination or the barriers, the obstacles, the hindrances from the life and lifestyle also. It's not only the matter of life, but the lifestyle of the humanly speaking of our own persons and legally speaking persons with disability. So with these words, I would stop myself here, and I would like to thank to the organizers once again for giving me the opportunity to share my views on the health policies on the persons with disability, which is still in not in a good condition, and that needs to be changed with the implementation of various laws and policies, along with the addressing of various issues which I told for this purpose. So thank you very much.